How you're dressed when you walk through the door of a sales meeting is one of the first things a prospect notices about you. It shapes their perception of you and ultimately shapes their opinion of the product or service that you're selling. However, most salesmen are not confident that they're getting the details right with the way that they present themselves. Honestly, whoever said it's what's on the inside that counts was probably being a little bit optimistic about humankind. Take me as Exhibit A. Would you buy anything from me when I look like this? How seriously would you take me? How reliable do I look right now? Not much, I guess. How about this? A little better, right? Now, don't get me wrong here. It's not that dressing really well is going to automatically close deals for you, but if you dress wrong, you can lose a deal right out of the gate. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can dress for success for every meeting without breaking the bank and non-verbally increase your credibility with your prospect. A study carried out by Harvard University found that it takes just 7 seconds to generate a first impression. It also found that 45% of that first impression is made based on how you sound. The remaining 55% is based on your appearance, how you look and how you carry yourself and how you're dressed. Like it or not, once people form an opinion of you in those first 7 seconds, they rarely change it. That's why as a salesperson, it's important to pay close attention to the way you dress. It can be the difference between winning and losing a deal. Good news is, you can control to a large extent how people perceive you in this way. And the first step in creating a great first impression is to dress for success for every meeting. And by the way, it doesn't have to break the bank to look good. I believe it was the great Krayshawn that said, "I don't need Gucci, I don't need Louis." There are a bunch of designer brands, but you don't need to buy them to look good for a sales job. Good stores to buy shirts, slacks, and other business casual clothes at a reasonable price are Banana Republic, Everlane, Zara, J. Crew, Nordstrom Rack. First, when selecting a shirt, I would say try to stick with solids, white, blue, pastels, or staples, and always look elegant. Watch out for muffin topping. Nothing looks more unprofessional than a poorly tucked in shirt. This is how you can do it. You can make sure you're tucked in tightly at the side, and you can kind of make a little fold right here to pull this back, and then tuck in as you normally would, but it ends up looking very crisp. If you have a thin waist or broad shoulders or long arms or the opposite of any of these things, you pretty much have to get any off-the-rack shirt that you buy tailored. The places to do that are generally the same place that you would take your dry cleaning to do. They can often do tailoring, and if not, just check it out on Yelp. You'll find a place around you. Always ensure that your collar is crisp, as a floppy collar is not a good look. There are magnetic strips that you can get for $1 that'll do the trick, and there's also collar stays that you can, little metal things you put into the collar. Let's now focus on the tie. The tie isn't mandatory for many field sales jobs, but it really depends on the industry where you are in the world. I would still recommend for more formal executive level meetings almost across the board. And remember, you can always take it off if you feel too formal. A tie has to be the right length. My dad always told me that the tip of the tie comes to the middle of your belt buckle when you stand up straight, and you want to have a color that goes well with the shirt and the suit that you're wearing. Again, stay away from flashy colors or prints because that can take away from the credibility of your message. So moving on to the suit, it's better to own fewer suits that really fit you well than to own a bunch of cheap ones that fit you badly. About the color, navy blue, black was always a great way to go. In the summertime, you can wear lighter colors like gray or light khaki. For the suit, the most important thing is that it fits you well. Everybody's body is a little different, and tailoring is always the best way to get a great fit and maybe worth it for a suit. This is often a bit expensive, and in the past it used to be really expensive, in fact, but today there's a lot of tailors that can take your measurements and have you choose the fabrics, and then they'll send a suit to a lower cost area to be made. Stores that do this are like Indochino, Black Lapel, Alton Lane, and Blank Label. One tip, keep a hanger in your car to hang up your suit while you drive so it keeps looking nice and crisp. Don't just toss it into the back seat. But above all, stay away from bright suits or any loud prints or colors. Stick to conservative with your suits so you don't dilute your message and or look like a clown. Now let's talk about accessories. You need a nice pair of leather shoes. I like wingtips personally. You need a nice belt. The belt and the shoes need to match and the color of both of those has to match the suit. This is really important. Good rule of thumb here is that black shoes go well with almost any color suit, and brown shoes go well with any color except for black. The only piece of jewelry other than a wedding ring that I think you should wear is a watch, and nice is not necessarily an expensive watch. You can also get a great looking watch from companies like Fossil, Seiko, Hugo Boss, and Timex. Remember, if you're buying watches, if you have a $5,000 watch on your wrist, people may assume they should jam you harder on the price. People notice this stuff. It's not only about clothes either. Pay attention to your hair and your nails. This goes without saying, but nails should be short and your hair needs to be neat. Go to a professional hair salon at least once or twice to get advice from a professional on what styles and styling products will work for you. And then once you have that knowledge, you can go back to supercuts if you want. I would steer clear of funky haircuts. It can be distracting. You're not a peacock trying to attract attention at a bar. You're trying to get a person to do business with you. And if you've grown a beard, I'm not recommending this for salespeople, but if you live in Brooklyn and you must embrace your inner hipster, always keep it groomed and use beard oil and a brush to minimize flyaways and keep it from looking scruffy. Okay, now we've talked about how to set the table. Let's talk about how to eat. We're going to talk about how to non-verbally increase your credibility with your prospect. First, how do you decide what to wear? A suit? A tux? A sport coat? Casual cowboy?
Whoa, what? No!
The thing to remember here is that there's no perfect answer for how all salespeople should dress, because the answer depends on how your prospect dresses. You want to match your prospect. What I mean by that is that you want to dress at the level of the highest status person in the room, who is often the decision maker. For example, as most of you know, my day job is that I'm CEO of Badger Maps, which is an app for field salespeople. We sell Badger to companies that have field sales teams, so usually the VP of sales or the director of sales operations will be the highest level of person in the room for one of our meetings. So I already know that at a medical device company, the VP of sales is dressed business casual and maybe wearing a sport coat, so I'll dress like that for that meeting. Another tip, when you get to the actual meeting, you can always make subtle adjustments on the fly. For example, if you're wearing a sport coat or a suit, but your prospect is not, as you sit down for the meeting, you can remove the jacket. In cases where for whatever reason you're unsure about how to dress, always err on the side of being overdressed as opposed to underdressed. Another point is to know your audience. If you sell a cool brand of wine to cool restaurants or something, flair may totally be fine and helpful. But if you're selling servers, the people who buy servers aren't generally super hip, and flair and things like that are not going to be appropriate. When you're invited to an event by a customer or prospect, you can always ask about the dress code. If you improvise or try to guess, though, you can end up feeling out of place. In a pinch, a sport coat, slacks, and a simple white shirt is a versatile look that works for almost any occasion. Finally, let's talk about some things to avoid. There are some things that are or should be obvious to you, like staying away from sandals or flip-flops or caps or shorts or t-shirts or hoodies. I'll add short sleeve collared shirts here too. There are some other aspects that are frequently overlooked but can also make you look really messy. First, make sure that your clothes don't have wrinkles and don't have stains. You can always use a stain remover and keep it in your car in case there's any unexpected spills. Also invest in learning how to care for the nice clothes that you buy. You can save a lot of money this way. Wash in cold water and use permanent press, and take your nice wool suits to a dry cleaner and have it done professionally. Keep labels and logos to a minimum. The only brand you want your prospect to see or hear during your meeting is your brand. Don't overdo cologne. Just 1 or 2 squirts of a fresh citrusy cologne on your neck are enough for a pleasant smell. Just remember, a messy look will make your whole sales pitch come off unorganized. As a salesperson, you're the face of your company to this prospect, and they're going to form their opinion of your company and make their buying decision partially based on how you're dressed. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and if you like what you've seen, please share and subscribe. See the link in the description below to get all the field sales training videos that I've made. If there's a particular field sales topic that you would like me to cover, just mention it in the comments below, or feel free to reach out to me at steve@badgermapping.com. And happy selling, everybody.